Joining us today is a new partner for Private Wealth Global. We have Newman, Leech, and John Rabie with Bradley Parker as COO to introduce Reward Properties. If we could just start with an understanding of your career backgrounds and a bit about the origins of Reward Properties. Newman, if you could begin.
Good morning, Gabriela. Thank you and the team from Global Wealth for inviting us to present to you today. My background: I was born in South Africa and have since naturalized in Switzerland. I studied commerce and law at Wits University. I ran a successful retail business in South Africa, which was sold to a local private equity business, and moved to Switzerland around 21 years ago. I set up a Geneva Management Group in 2000, and part of that group, we set up a real estate business called GMG Investments. Our focus in the early years was mostly investing in Swiss assets. Some of the flagship projects in our portfolio included the headquarters of Barclays Bank in Geneva, the industrial headquarters of Zimmer Frame, one of the world's largest prosthetics manufacturers in Zurich, a 30,000 square meter retail outlet for Hornbach, who are a Frankfurt-listed DIY business. All these assets were sold very successfully within the timeframes we had set in our business model. We also started investing in the UK after the financial crisis in 2008, and have over the years built up a formidable team in the UK, and today have a sizable portfolio in central London. Our UK portfolio is really centered around an office strategy, and we are currently in the process of building out 4 office assets, with our flagship 100,000 square foot assets in Victoria, which we are redeveloping to a grade A specification. In terms of our exposure in Portugal, we started investing in Lisbon in 2018 with a focus on residential development. We were very fortunate to be introduced to John Rabie and his team. The stars were certainly aligned when we agreed to develop our first project together in Lisbon. Alex Living is our flagship project, and we have been very successful in all aspects of this development. Not only have we sold 70% of the apartments, we are on track to deliver the apartments to our buyers next year, and we are very confident to sell out of the project before the end of the construction. As a result of our joint vision, we decided to create a global residential development company and brand the joint venture under Reward Properties. Why we are so excited about Reward? We see a huge opportunity to draw on our collective experience to identify opportunities and deliver assets to market. Portugal is a phenomenal country to work in, and we believe the shortage of residential accommodation will support our business model to deliver high quality apartments or homes at substantial value to our buyers, who are both local and international. We are also very excited about our plans to expand into the UK in the near future.
Wonderful, thank you for that background, Newman. And Johnny, if you could also give us some background on yourself professionally, and then your involvement with Reward.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, Gabriela. Well, I started off quite a long time back in 1978 in Cape Town, and built up a business called the Rabie Property Group, which really pioneered residential development in Cape Town and Johannesburg, in the formation of plot and plan development on residential, and then of course all the other aspects of development, including commercial, industrial, and of course residential, which has really been our anchor. And in 2004 we acquired Century City, which was 1.2 million square meters of bulk from Nedbank, and from 2004 to 2021 we have completed 1.2 million square meters of bulk. We built a city out of the 1.4 million square meters, and that's based along the urban renewal model of live, work and play, and that includes, so therefore you can live, you can work, and you've got your hospitality place, we've got hotels and conference facilities, and it's just been an incredible experience. In the early 2010 to 11, I formed a private brand called Signatura, which concentrated on the inner city of Cape Town, renewing areas in the inner city of Cape Town, Greenpoint, Sea Point, and very successfully completed 30 projects. to the value of 4 billion rands. And in 2018, myself and Newman met, and Newman got me out to Portugal to look at one of his developments. We liked it very much. That is the Alex Living development in Amoreish, 150 apartments, some commercial. And from there, we formed our relationship, which is now morphed into Reward Properties, which is a JV, a collaboration between Newman's RE Capital and our Neworld, which is my offshore arm. And we look very forward to doing a lot of exciting things in Portugal and going forward into the UK.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Johnny, and very excited to have you here with us. Bradley, if you could speak to your involvement with Neworld as COO and then your involvement with Reward Properties.
Thank you, Gabriela, and hello, everyone. So I've been working with John Rabie for the last 12 years in South Africa. So I'm also a South African boy, born in Cape Town. And I moved over here in 2019 to help set up the Neworld office. And we've been here now for just over 2 years. So my involvement was with Signatura in South Africa when Johnny started that company. And my main role there was project delivery and operations and making sure that we handed over and finished probably 27 of those 30 projects that Johnny mentioned. And Johnny obviously then asked me if I was willing to come overseas and set up this new company, Neworld. So I'm in Lisbon, I live here, and we're very hands-on type of company. And so I think that says a lot for us as a developer, and that's who we are. It's basically the nature of what we do. And I'm partnering with the team that RE Capital brought to the table, and we've got 12 to 13 of us that are sitting here based in Lisbon with engineers, project managers. We've got our own legal advisor. We have our own finance department, and we manage the whole project from start to finish, from finding the sites to handing over the apartments to our eventual investors. So that's the role that I play in the business.
Thank you so much, Bradley, the man that wears many hats, it sounds like. I'd like to talk a bit more about Reward Properties, just understanding this joint venture, how both of these two separate companies came to become involved, and the regions and asset classes that you are specializing in. Not sure who wants to open with that, but
Newman, you go, Newman.
Yeah, sure, Gabriela. So if we look back at the origins of where John and I met, we had built a very successful business in Switzerland. We went through a period of disposition where we liquidated a lot of the assets extremely successfully between 2015 and 2018. And we were looking for another market to start investing in. The head of our European division, Olivier Hezelo, used to work in Portugal. He knew the environments extremely well. He managed quite a large portfolio for a family office based in San Diego. He ran their European portfolio. We headhunted him. He joined us, did a very successful job on our Swiss and German portfolios. And when we were looking for a new territory, he said, let's go and see what Portugal has to offer. We landed there early 2018, and within a period of 2 years, we'd invested just on 100 million euro of capital, mixture of equity and junior debt. Junior debt being debt that we introduced into the projects ourselves. The very first project we invested in was a project in Marvila, which is what we call Marvila 1. And that was a project that we co-invested with Portugal's largest hospitality group, the Pestana Group. And this was prior to our involvement and meeting Johnny. And we bought the asset largely based on the experience in the market, the fundamentals of a particular asset that was going to mature over time in an area that was growing outside of Lisbon, or in the Lisbon municipality. We then met Johnny and we co-invested in Alex Living, which is our flagship asset in Portugal today. And it became very, very clear that the skill set and experience that Johnny and his team brings, together with the skill set of our team on the ground, made for almost a perfect marriage, because as Brad alluded to, we take responsibility for the entire investment spectrum, from origination and acquisition, which has a lot of responsibilities and underlying targets. You've got your capital structuring and analytics, you've got your developments and asset management, and ultimately you've got your exit planning. And with the wealth of experience that Johnny's got in mixed-use developments and the team that we built already in Europe with access to deal flow. It was the perfect partnership for us to embark upon jointly developing assets, so we can give our clients the assurance with the experience that we bring collectively, that we manage risk appropriately, that we invest into the right assets. And fundamentally, Johnny and his team, we both co-invest in our deals, so we're quite a unique proposition, and we differ a lot from our competitors in the sense that we're not service providers. We actually invest our own capital, and that's key. And so really it was having done the first deal together, being Alex Living, we've now on our fourth deal, and the passage of time over just on 3 years now, the relationship has evolved, and we just feel that bringing the two groups together under Reward is a logical extension of the success that we've achieved to date in a very short space of time. And it's a way to build brand, to build recognition, and also to recognize the fact that we're trying to create traction within Portugal amongst the local Portuguese investment community and buyers, so that they can see a common brand. As I said, we're on our fourth project together, so we're starting to develop that reputation on the ground amongst local buyers, having the confidence in buying value from foreign developers effectively. So we've got a big team, a big local team, Portuguese team on the ground, but we're really building that strong local brand, that local presence, that when people see our name, they know that it stands for quality, it stands for value, and they get the comfort knowing that they're buying from a reputable developer. Johnny?
Yeah, thank you, Numi. That's beautifully put. So when we decided to invest alongside Newman in Alex Living in 2018, end of 2018, what got us very excited about Portugal is that it's almost very similar to what we used to back here in South Africa, in the way that business is conducted from a planning perspective and an architectural perspective and a value proposition in terms of the product. So when we looked at the product, the Alex Living development, exactly, we're doing very similar things here. So we automatically felt comfortable and knew that we could replicate, and we have a lot of experience in those type of mixed-use developments whereby, when I mean mixed use, you have retail on the ground floor, and then above that you have your apartments, including your other facilities like your pools and your gyms and your spas, etc., encapsulating mixed use, which you really do in really very good areas, high desire areas for people to live, and now we give them the opportunity to own in those areas. Then from going further, we obviously brought our guys across, as Brad has alluded to, and Alan Bell on the sales and marketing side, who worked for me for many years in Cape Town. And we, working alongside Newman, we saw a lot of synergy between the two companies. We're different, but we feel that when we put ourselves together, we will have a formidable team, and that's why the birth of Reward, and then the ongoing relationship and firming up between the two companies. We aligned in many ways, and Newman skills and the skills from RE Capital are fantastic, because they fulfill a function which we don't have here in the raising of capital and investors. And on our side, we find that we can do things very similarly to what we've done back home, and we're very excited about not only Alex Living, and as Numi has mentioned, Marvilla, which is a very exciting project to be launching shortly, and then there's two others which we are busy with. We see a great future ahead of us, and between us we have enormous amount of experience which we've done over the years between both companies, which stands us in good stead, with which protects our reputations, and also for our clients or customers or home buyers, home apartment buyers, know that they're dealing with people that have been around, who've got the experience, who've got the capital, and offer a really good product. This is really was the birth of Reward, which I personally, and I know Bradley specifically heading up this situation overseas, are so very excited about going forward into the future with this group.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Newman and Johnny. With that, Bradley, I turn to you and I ask how you are approaching these commercial real estate opportunities in Portugal. What are you looking for in terms of which deals you want to get involved in, and what's some of the due diligence that you follow in trying to find and vet these opportunities?
Yeah, I think as you probably know, and a lot of investors will be happy to hear, is that the due diligence process is very, very important. And sometimes in life, the best deal you do are the ones that you don't do. So we get brought lots and lots of deals from different kinds of brokers, different sources, and they get put on our desks. And as we alluded to already, the fact that we have an in-house team that we can review these things together is very important. But besides the in-house team, we also have a set of professionals that we can call on: architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, project managers, you name it. And so our due diligence phase is very, very important for us. Even on the legal side, you need to be very careful with properties. What if there's any hidden items regarding DD in terms of legal stuff? So usually what will happen is we find an opportunity. We'll do a viability or a base case based on the property. It's a good old philosophy from a developer's perspective. You always need to go and see the site and feel it and touch it. I know John Rabie will not buy anything until he's actually stood and looked at everything. That's just the way it works. So the due diligence phase is very, very important to us. Obviously, we'll need to run the numbers and make sure that it stacks up and it works. And look at our exposure and look at the market. I think the most important thing from a developer's perspective is to work backwards and see what the market is demanding and look at the different areas. Lisbon will be different to Algarve, to Porto, to the UK. They all have different reaches, and a lot of developers, I think in the past, they do a back of envelope estimate, and then they just plug in the numbers that they need without doing the market research. So we also do a proper due diligence regarding selling and market research, especially on the residential side, so that we know exactly this is what is achievable. And I think then the key for us, as there's a longevity here with John Rabie going back to 1978, is that you have investors that want to follow you. So you've got to make sure that you look after those investors from a equity or a mezzanine investor or from a person that's buying a unit. So the most important thing is that they follow you, and you build a brand is what we kind of create with Reward. And so we want to add value. So we want to find a unit that's got value, and so that buyer of an apartment actually buys a unit and makes money himself. So that is very important for us to build that cycle and lifelong journey for our clients going forward. I hope that answers your question.
I think, Gabriela, do you mind if I just add to what Bradley said?
Please.
In terms of the due diligence, it's very stringent, and we probably run 3 separate due diligence processes. The one is run by the RE Capital team, the one is run by the Neworld team separately without comparing notes to see what the bottom line number is, what the multiple is, what the risks are. So we have 2 separate professional teams running that data. Thirdly, as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, both the partners of Reward invest a substantial amount of capital in these deals, but we also have other third-party professional investors who invest in real estate. They have their own team of analysts, and they run their own numbers as well. So effectively, you've got 3 teams, 3 sets of professionals vetting your numbers, doing the market comparison, making sure that the exit values are correct, looking at all the costs. And we also typically run a quarterly board review process where we present at board level to the directors, where we've got third-party. Some of the significant investor groups sit on the board, and on a quarterly basis, we prepare board packs, very stringent every quarter. We compare the estimated exit values. So quarter on quarter, we're actually comparing what we presented on a base case in High Road to where we are at any particular point in time in the development process. So that's quite key. We vet it very, very closely up front to make sure that we're comfortable investing. We also have an investment committee that has to approve once the 2 sets of teams have run through the numbers. And then we have the added comfort that we've got third-party professional investors who are investing their hard capital, also run their numbers. And then to present to the investors, we do a quarterly review of the actual performances and give them detailed cash flow records and updated numbers, which is, I think, quite key and has proved extremely successful.
That's fantastic. to have that breakdown of how critically due diligence is taken, or how seriously rather due diligence is taken by this group. I do want to speak, or I'm interested in having you speak to Portugal and investing in real estate in Portugal specifically. Who is or who should be interested in investing in Portugal, and why? Newman, maybe this is something you can address.
Thanks, Gabriela. So we've been, as a company, we've been invested in Portugal since around 2018. We were heavily invested in Europe prior to investing in Portugal. And Portugal is a very interesting economy. If you take a look at the economic outlooks, the economy grew at a faster pace than the Eurozone from 2016 to 2019. Obviously, the current health crisis is going to impact GDP going forward. The government has put in place a lot of incentive packages for investors, a lot of interesting programs to encourage foreigners to both move and open businesses in Portugal. You see a number of global institutions have relocated their middle and back offices into Lisbon. You look at BNP Paribas, they've moved the entire middle and back office, the European middle and back office, into Lisbon, into a single consolidated building that they're busy building at present. And you've got numerous other large corporations that are choosing to operate out of Lisbon. And there are a number of reasons for this. You've got a highly educated community that speak multiple languages. Your cost of living is typically lower than that in other European countries. You've got a very, very strong work ethic. So in terms of the economy, I think despite the current health crisis, I think the GDP will rebound. There will be a continued interest, not only because of COVID, in terms of people wanting to relocate out of city centres or out of London and Paris into Lisbon and surrounding areas, or to the Algarve, with a lot of people also working remotely. I think if you look at the real estate segments where we invested in, a lot of international institutions, a lot of investment funds are focusing on Portugal and buying up big chunks of projects. So if you take a look at the big investor groups in America, in Europe, Portugal is on their radar right now for acquisition. So in terms of liquidity, there's a lot of liquidity around, and we see it when we bid on projects. There's a lot more interest in the underlying assets themselves. In the segment that we play in, you mentioned commercial property. We did buy one commercial property, so I presume you meant broadly in real estate. So our focus really in Portugal is on the residential space. We've purchased 5 assets in Portugal, and we're busy building out 4 of them currently. The residential space is quite an interesting space in the sense that there's definitely a structural mismatch with an increasing demand and low supply. So we're trying to cater to that particular segment. The fact that we managed to pre-sell 70% of our Alex Living flagship in Amoreiros, central Lisbon, in downtown Lisbon, is evidence to the fact that there's a huge demand for good quality product at the right price. So I think there will be a continued interest and a continued demand for residential, for the right kind of residential products. And I think it's a space that we're going to excel in and outperform over the next 5 to 10 years. That structural mismatch between the available stock and the demand coming not only from Golden Visa investors, and that program is going to phase out, just from international investors, from the local community, will continue to increase.
Thanks. And final question, why are you excited about becoming a sponsor on our private wealth global marketplace? What do you believe our marketplace offers for investors interested in becoming involved in equity in Portugal and offerings through reward properties?
Johnny, do you want to answer?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll take that one. I think, the way that the world has changed, the new reset, and certainly with the current technologies that have evolved over the last sort of 10 years, when you don't place an advert in the newspaper anymore, everything's digital, everything is advanced, and therefore our way of attracting purchasers or investors to our projects is through platforms. And, we believe your platform, we can offer value to your investors that you have on your database, because we feel comfortable, and Newman alluded to this right in the beginning, we are actually investing in our own projects. And alongside us come the other potential investors, family offices. So we actually, let's put it quite plainly, we're investing our own equity, our own money. So therefore, we will be very, very cautious and careful as to where we invest through the processes that we've discussed so far in the interview. And therefore, we know from our years and years of experience that we need to acquire the right sites. We need to pay the right price. We also need to sell value that we are always below what our competitors are doing. So we leave capital on the table for our investors that come and buy from us. And we have purchasers and clients that have followed us for all of 42 years are still with us. And if it's not them, because maybe they're not here, it's their children or the people that look after their capital. So we value both of us, I know spending a lot of time with Newman, and certainly from our side, we value our reputation very, very highly. And the service that we offer to our customers is paramount to us. And that's what we feel. By being on your platform, we can share these attributes and our potential and our skills for property development and raising of capital, etc. And hopefully we can get our message across to the people on the Wealth Migrate platform.
Great. And I'm personally know that I'm very excited to have you as a partner, a new partner with Private Wealth Global. And this is something that I think our investment community is very excited and eager to take part in, the many offerings that we will do together in the days and weeks and months to come.